It is Monday, June 10th, 2019. This is Radio Tokyo. I'm Jonathan, and I have completely ruined today's show because if y'all remember on Friday, we agreed to talk about some more about Endgame and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and there was something else, wasn't there, Nick?
Well, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is important because it reveals how they can use Spider-Man Far From Home to do all kinds of cool multi-dimension things with the Marvel Universe. But you ruined that.
Yes, I did, because this weekend I had a family reunion on Saturday, and I don't think I've actually mentioned this since we started back, but around the time of my most recent birthday, I started having really bad headaches. We thought it was just migraine, which I've had before, got medication for it. They kept coming back. Um, the doctor said that I have stress headaches and migraines. Well, not long after that, I started having these really intense headaches that were focused on one area, usually my left temple. And I did some reading on the different types of headaches, and I have what's called cluster headaches now. I'm around the age they develop. They're predominantly in men. There's no real cure for them, and they have a wonderful nickname called suicide headaches because when they were first diagnosed in the 20s, that was really the only solution was to kill yourself because the pain is so unbearable. Keep in mind this is before morphine was invented. Well, around the time it was. Um, Yeah, there was no painkiller strong enough. So I have become very good friends with BC powder and having a vape pen now because I use CBD, and I will not ever admit publicly uh, to using products that CBD is derived from in an attempt to control pain. So don't ask me if I have, because I will never say that I may or may not have broken the law.
So what you're saying is we need to perform head surgery on you and open your head up.
No, what I'm saying is that being out in the sun, see, okay, light, like really intense light, can trigger the headaches. And I'm actually
Wait,
wearing lightly tinted blue sunglasses in the
wait,
house.
wait. What you're saying is that you're a vampire.
Yeah, I guess so. But
Wait,
I'm
we can go further with this. What you're saying is that you're a vampire and that you're going to become the next Batman.
yes.
Okay.
See, I've been saying I'm Batman all along, and nobody believes me. But for real, like I'm actually wearing lightly. They're blue, but they're like a light blue sunglass in the house right now, just so the monitor and everything would be easier on my eyes. And usually, if I go outside, uh, I did wear like those dark gray, almost black sunglasses for a while. That was fine, but too much light kept getting in, so I had to get wraparound sunglasses, and now I have red lenses, which are amazing. And um, one of the bad things of of being sensitive to so much light now is it makes my eyes burn and they water all the time. Excuse me, I don't know where that came from. Um, but the red light kind of cuts out the majority of light that causes that, so it's better. And now I smell like a waffle from Waffle House because I just got some new of that flavored e-liquid for my vape. It's called let me find the bottle. Smurf cake. It smells wonderful. It smells like caramel popcorn, but it really does taste like a waffle from Waffle House. I like my
Stop,
little vape pen.
stop trying to get kids addicted to the vape pen. Okay.
No, no. See, here's the thing. Children do not ever vape. It's you're not old enough to make that choice. Don't vape. Parents, don't let your kids try it. Um, I normally would never advocate for using one of these if it were not for the fact that it is sincerely helping me with headaches. Like that's the only time. I mean, I was nearly a year into having these goddamn headaches before I decided, okay, I got to try something different. because taking medication and laying down in a dark room kind of debilitates me, and it makes it hard to do anything at all. So, yeah, I can kind of function with this.
So what we're saying is, use drugs responsibly, kids.
Yeah, even though CBD is not a drug, it's actually the THC that's in marijuana. That's the drug. That's what gets you high. The CBD is what does. Cannabis reacts with chemicals in your body, basically, and it helps control pain, anxiety, stuff like that. That's why it's been pushed on a lot of people, because there's some people who use it for different reasons, and it seems to work. But the CDC and whatnot, will not, and the FDA will not clear it for human trials because we cannot do that. Fuck off. They don't want to do it because it will put drug companies out of business. Because what I would spend on a prescription for something like a painkiller, I can go buy a vape pen. Mine was like $80. It was starter kit. It came with the pen, 2 coils, and a charger. It's great.
Wait, you mean drug companies don't want us to stop using opioids?
That's right. They don't want you to.
Whoa.
And yes, I know. What's funny is the Trump administration is like, well, we got to handle the opioid crisis. Oh, well, why don't you tell that to the drug companies that buy off people, members of Congress, quite regularly, and will pay doctors money to push their new, pills on them, like medications that can cause diarrhea or inflammation or any number of side effects that are just wonderful to have. Just take the salad of pills while we test the medication on you, instead of trying something that seems to have a positive effect on everybody who's used it, which is what CBD is. Now, granted, the different strengths of it and how you take it will affect you differently, but vaping it is the fastest way to get it into your system, and it works. And literally, everybody I know who's ever vaped, I have chastised. I'm like, why would you do that? Why don't you just stop using that, stop smoking? And yet here I am. But we're 10 minutes into the show, and I haven't shut up about it yet.
Are we becoming hippies like what's that Texas guy?
You mean Willie Nelson?
Yes, that's him. I couldn't remember his name. Are you becoming Willie Nelson?
I happen to like Willie Nelson.
Who doesn't like Willie Nelson?
People who did not vote for Beto O'Rourke.
They are monsters and don't understand what life is.
Pretty much, because you see, what's funny is Willie Nelson did a concert for a fundraising.
I really mean, who would not enjoy spending time with Willie Nelson? Like, he seems like the nicest guy in the world.
A terrorist would not enjoy spending time with him, I guess. I don't know.
Weird.
I really don't know anymore.
So, since you're in the show, what are we going to talk about?
Let's talk about that thing that we have not talked about in a long time. And also, I want to apologize if our stream was just interrupted. Evidently, my internet likes to cut out now.
That's a problem.
So if you're watching us live and we have been disconnected, that's what it is. But it should be fine now.
But what is this thing we're going to talk about?
Actually, if you're watching us live and you're not seeing us, again, I'm sorry. You can just watch the recorded version, because that everything will be just fine. You can watch it then. That everything will be just fine. And we're gonna talk about World of Warcraft. Watch it because why the hell not? Everything will be just fine. And we're gonna talk about World of Warcraft. Watch it because why the hell not?
And I'm going to interject with Final Fantasy 14 randomly because
no one
Fantasy 14. Actually, a lot of people care, and it's kind of interesting now.
Well, that's good for them, but nobody cares. But no, what I want to talk about with World of Warcraft is I'm just going to play them in the background because why not? And see, I don't think we'll get copyright restrictions from Blizzard for doing this. Excuse me. Um, I want to talk about the story for Battle for Azeroth so far, particularly with the Horde. The Alliance has, got some questionable stuff that's not going on. Honestly, they don't. It's like the Alliance is great and wonderful, and that's
The Alliance is great and wonderful. That's why we play them.
well. See, you think they're great and wonderful, but all the story development seems to be going on with the Horde, and there's the accusation that Blizzard is just Horde. Blizzard likes Horde more than they do Alliance. Is that a good impersonation of the people on the forum? Do you think?
I think it really depends on what side is saying that. I feel like players on the Alliance feel slightly neglected because there is more interesting things happening on the Horde side. But I think if you talk to Horde players, they will say that the Alliance has the much smoother and better storyline because the Horde story's already been done. Like, honestly, it's a repeat of Mist of Pandaria. And at least the Alliance story is moving forward.
It is, but in a lot of ways, I kind of like the fact that we are getting um, a better story for the Horde. Because if you recall, back in
I
Miss
would agree that
Pandaria,
I would agree this is a much better version of the Mist of Pandaria story. But I would still argue it's the same story.
it kind of is in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it's not. And one of the ways that I think it's not, um, where to begin? Well, for starters, Sylvanas is definitely not Garrosh Hellscream. And I know it's like, well, she has to be Garrosh Hellscream. Look at what she's doing. She's crazy. She's murdering people. Yeah, but uh, there is a difference.
Which is
Garrosh literally tells you why he did what he did.
so just adding a random element of mystery makes it better.
Oh, no, see, there's no random element of mystery because this has been going on forever and ever and ever, and Blizzard has consistently had Sylvanas deny it. Repeatedly, they have had her deny what
I've
she's interested
I've
in doing.
I've never understood people that actually believed her denials. It it boggled my mind that people were like would try to defend Sylvanas.
So here's the thing. I've played both factions since I started playing. And during Wrath, Wrath of the Lich King expansion, if you played Horde and you quested in Dragonblight, you did a quest line where you helped some Forsaken, they're alchemists, just call them alchemists. Even though, well, no, they're apothecaries, because that's the word. They're testing a plague. And what they've done is they have captured members of the Scarlet Crusade. Excuse me, the Scarlet Onslaught, and they want you to help them test their plague on them. So you test it, because the plague is actually unable to hurt those who are blessed by the light. And if you remember the Ice Crown quest line, there is a soldier, Crusader Bridenbrad, who has got the plague and he's laying there dying, but it's taking so long to kill him because of the light. And they try numerous things in the quest line to help save him, but ultimately you don't. He is a great example of the way the new Forsaken plague works. But the whole quest line leads you up to the Wrathgate, and you find out, oh, shit. I literally just helped Apothecary Putris devise his new plague that we just killed Horde and Alliance players with. What are we doing here? And then, Sylvanas is like, well, I didn't know he was doing it. It's a betrayal. I'm sorry. And then you get to what follows that, the Ulduar cinematic, where you find out that Horde soldiers were killing Alliance soldiers as they were entering Icecrown, and they're using the plague to do it. And it's like, oh, well, I didn't know it was happening. I'm sorry. Fast forward to Cataclysm, uh, she invades Gilneas, or rather, she attacks still living settlements in Silver Pine Forest, and then Gilneas, and then Hillspread, and she uses the plague, and Garrosh is like, hey, um, why are you doing this? And she goes, well, I'm sorry. Like, there's no, I didn't know what it would do this time. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. I promise. And she's also raising people into undeath. And this is where, one of the best lines ever, because Garrosh is like, what's the difference between you and the Lich King? She's like, isn't it obvious, War Chief? I serve the Horde. And he calls her a smart mouth bitch.
That was one of the greatest garage moments ever. That was one
It
of
is.
the I missed that. Like, the garage had some really cool moments before he went batshit crazy.
He had a lot of them. And what's interesting to me is there is a. I don't know exactly the best way to phrase it. Like, it's two sides of the same coin, basically, with Garrosh. He kind of just lets Sylvanas do what she's doing because she makes the argument that the Forsaken are unable to reproduce. So she has to raise more people into undeath. And yeah, that kind of makes sense because, during the war in Icecrown, well, in Northrend rather, there were a lot of people killed. The only one that I know an actual figure for is for humans, like just people in Stormwind. Okay, 22,000 people from Stormwind died in the war in Northrend. Let's assume that's roughly the same for every faction. Okay, now there's only so many Draenei that are going to exist. There's only so many Night Elves, because the Night Elves are functionally immortal, but you don't really see a lot of Night Elves in Northrend. You don't really see a lot of Draenei in North. In fact, there's only one. No, there's two instances I can think of where there are Draenei. There's a quest chain that involves them starting on in Borean Tundra, and then there is oh, I can't think of his name. That's on the Skybreaker. What's his name? Marad. Vindicator Marad is on the
Yeah.
Skybreaker. That's really it. There's almost no Draenei presence. And I think at the time, the reason for that was that Blizzard did not want to use them because there's so much Draconic presence throughout Burning Crusade. Which is fine. I get that. Okay? It's cool. But again, there's only so many Draenei. There's only so many Night Elves. There's a lot of gnomes, a lot of dwarves, a lot of humans, and that kind of makes up the bulk of what goes to Northrend, especially humans. But just assuming that each population loses roughly kind of the same amount, you're still talking about a lot of people. But again, the bulk are going to be humans because they make up the majority of the Alliance's army. Okay? Just like orcs make up the majority of the Horde's army. So you're still seeing large amounts of deaths. And again, the Forsaken are the only one out of every race that is entirely unable to reproduce, except for Lightforge. But that's now, well, I don't know. You can probably make more Lightforge because all it is a trial. It's whatever. But you can't make more Forsaken. Okay, so since Cataclysm, all Forsaken players or characters rather that are made are technically new Forsaken. They were not born prior to prior to the events of Wrath of the Lich King. They're all new, and Garrosh, thinks about that. He kind of lets it go. But the other side of that coin is in Thousand Needles with General whatever his name. I can't think of his name. It's been so long since in the quest line. But Garrosh throws him off a cliff because he bombed a school where he thought that the Alliance, like the Night Elves and whatnot, and it was Night Elves and Tauren in there. It was a school for druids, and he thought that they were harboring, like a resistance camp or something like that there. So he blew it up, and Garrosh punishes him by throwing him off a cliff.
That was also one of his better moments.
It is, but when you think about it, it's two separate reactions to what is essentially the exact same thing.
It is.
And it just shows to me that Garrosh has actually got a personality. There's a reason he does one thing, and a reason he doesn't do the. He doesn't punish Sylvanas in the other scenario because, and this is important, because she makes a very good case. They cannot reproduce. You need the Forsaken there because they're a buffer against the Alliance. You know what I mean? So if the Alliance decides they want to come retake Lordaeron, or they want to attack Silvermoon, whatever, they have to have that kind of little buffer right there. Of the Forsaken, because the Forsaken make up the largest presence that the Horde has in the Eastern Kingdom. So you need them there. It's very important strategically to allow her to go on and keep doing some terrible shit. Makes sense. At the same time, we know Garrosh does some stuff that is supposedly questionable. People are like, well, Garrosh is Hitler and Thrall. No, Garrosh Hillscream is not Hitler. It doesn't matter whether you want to say he's very Nazi-like or not. I've read Mein Kampf. I study history. It's kind of my thing. He's not Hitler. He's bad, but he's not Hitler. He's not even. He didn't even encroach on Hitler territory, and that's having
Who
heard
would you compare him to?
probably Napoleon. No, not Napoleon. Probably more Stalin. You know what I mean? Because Stalin is famous for his purges. He purged the Russian Orthodox Church. Well, not murdered them so
I
much
was also
as
thinking Stalin.
yeah, he is. I mean, the more you think about it historically, he's more like Stalin because the purges primarily. He tells the Tauren and the trolls they're essentially have to be relegated to their own areas. The same with the goblins. Only orcs are supposed to be seen the majority of the time in Orgrimmar. He wants the orcs to have all the advantage because they're his people. Yeah, that does sound a little bit like Hitler and the Lebensraum, but Lebensraum is conquering new territory. Yes, or Garrosh wanted new territory, but guess who else did? Stalin did. That's literally what the whole USSR was. Area that was controlled, and it was actually segregated. Thing most people miss. But Garrosh, like Stalin, was very willing to murder people that made up his own horde, just because he wanted one group to succeed over other ones, and that's nationalistic pride. That's all it is. He's proud to be an orc. Okay, I can live with that. If you want to know who is a little bit more like Hitler, it actually is Sylvanas, because her madness is unstoppable, and the literal only way to stop her is to kill her. And the reason I'm saying all this is because it's in Mein Kampf. It's like in the first 100 pages of the fucking book. If you read it, you see how Hitler became what he wound up being as an adult, and that is very simply, um, he had a lot of national pride. He was very interested in the history of Germany and how it became, you know, how Germany had two kingdoms and how it became to what it was around the time he was born, and he wanted reunification of Germany. Okay, wasn't going to happen, but he wanted it. And when he got old enough and he moved to Bavaria, he lived in Munich. Um, that's where a lot of Semitism was centered, and he got very involved in these groups that were anti-Semitic. And through reading their publications, he realized, oh, hey, the Jews hate everything. Okay, if you look at Sylvanas, her storyline is incredibly similar to that because she's from Quel'Thalas. She is not from Lordaeron, but she moves there after she's undead, right? Right. Hitler moves to Bavaria after he's an older person, after he's, had dealings with his father and mother and everything else, and realizing that his hopes and dreams are crushed. Sylvanas wanted to live. She wanted to protect Quel'Thalas. She didn't. Her hopes and dreams are fucking crushed. Right? Right. So she moves to Undercity, where she meets people, and she comes to power. And oh, look, she wants to control the world. She wants to take over all of Eastern Kingdom. She wants to destroy Stormwind. She wants everything for the Forsaken. Which one between Garrosh Hellscream and Sylvanas Windrunner sounds like Hitler?
I'd say Sylvanas.
Exactly. She's willing to do whatever the hell it takes just for the Forsaken. And she's been doing that the entire goddamn time she has been a character. And everyone's like, well, Hitler and Garros are alike. No, no, they're not. They're entirely different. And that is exactly why. How long have I been making this point? For like 20 minutes now? But that's exactly why the story for this is so much better to me than it is than it was rather with um Mr. Pandaria, because it results in the cinematic that if you're watching at home you get to see right now. And this is a safe haven cinematic. This is the end result we're at in the quest line right now. Um where Varrock Sourfang has been kind of chased, and Horde players are given the option to murder him. Well, why are we doing that? Why is Varrock, a challenge to Sylvanas? It's because he represents everything the Horde is supposed to be. He is a living reminder to citizens of the Horde that they can be better, that they have done better, and that they should do better, and they shouldn't be doing crazy things because a crazy woman who literally blew up her own city says that they should do that.
Yeah, and should we get into spoiler? Have you seen the spoilers for 8.2 yet?
I'm kind of aware of some what's going to happen, but like just okay. Well, okay, I want to, but I don't, because again, I'm showing the trailer right now. Um, but really, by the way, if y'all haven't seen this is one of the best cinematics they've done for oh god, okay, anything they've done with Sour Fang. This expansion is great, but it's beautiful. Okay, like this is beautifully done. This is a really good cinematic. Um, but just based off of this, you see what Sylvanas is trying to do. And like in the course of it, Saurfang walks up. You see Thrall. This is after he's launched the Doomhammer, and I'm pretty certain I mentioned this in a previous episode where we discussed World of Warcraft playing the Shaman Order Hall. Did I ever do that? Do you remember if I said anything about that, Nick?
You mean the almost hour-long angry rant you gave about how much you hate Thrall?
Yeah, that because I hated it.
Yeah, yeah, we
I
did
hated
that.
it. I still hate it. I would rather carve my heart out with a spoon then do the Shaman Order Hall quest line again. Because, well, everything but enhancement. Enhancement's terrible. I'm sorry. It's terrible. I love playing Enhancement Shaman. It's terrible. The quest line to get the Doom Hammer is terrible. Because Thrall gets hurt and he bitches the entire time. He's like, he just tells you things that he's done. And you know, it's like, I don't know if I'm back to Agra. And he just sits there at like 10% health. And I'm like, just heal yourself. You're a shaman. Shaman can heal. What is the matter? You know, it's embarrassing because you know shaman are supposed to be some of the most powerful things on all of that. But oh god, it makes me mad to think about it right now. You know, because it starts off where they can't even light a fire. They can't light a fire. You kidding me? No. Anyway, Saurfang comes to Thrall, and Thrall's like, I'm not going to lead. Saurfang, you know, it's like, I didn't ask you to. I want you to fight for the Horde. So Thrall knocks over his anvil, and no idea what happens to Draco or his kids, but he lifts up his father's axe, and it's great. It's wonderful. And I'm like, yeah! Yeah! Finally, Thrall's back! Woo! Yeah! Yeah! It's happy. You know, like, and everyone who's ever played Horde apparently has had the same reaction. Like, throw us back! Yeah, baby, yeah! Woohoo! The game's back to normal! Yeah! And everyone seems to have forgotten the whole Sylvanas story.
And I think this partly speaks of uh I think there's a real division in the fandom regarding Sylvanas and Thrall. And I think a lot of people they might find the Sylvanas story interesting, but I don't think they necessarily like it. And then there's other peoples that love the Sylvanas story and are super invested and interested in it. And they're bored with the old Horde style stories.
I'm not necessarily bored with the old Horde stuff. I mean, I like it. I really do. Um, the new Sylvanas stuff is not boring at all to me. I like it, and it certainly does draw on elements created in Warcraft 3. You know, because it's surprising that that's been like 20 years ago, and we're still, you know, pulling the last threads of that we can. But you're right. There is a division amongst a lot of players. You know, that's why I think older people like me. Uh, I'm not. I don't mean old as an age. I mean older people that have been playing for a while kind of gravitate towards the idea of Thrall coming back. I hated what they've done with Thrall in the meantime. I really, really hated the end of Nagrand and Warlords of Draenor because that was unfair of Thrall. And that's because I understand what a Mach Gra is, and their Mach Gra has been on hiatus since the launch of Wrath of Lich King, which is part of the reason why Garrosh became the way he is. And the whole dialogue in there, you know, especially where he tells Thrall that he made him what he is, yeah, he damn sure did. He absolutely did. It's time for Thrall to own up to that. And what does he do? He electrocutes him and crushes him. No, fuck off. That's not Thrall to me. Like that's not Thrall in any way. Period. But I really like what we get in the recent cinematic. I'm looking forward to this because this is not Thrall that we have ever had.
It's definitely a very different Thrall. In a way, I'm actually more interested now to see what they do with Thrall. Now that he's not Green Jesus, Sword of Savior, or of all of Azeroth or whatever, and he's been humbled and more grounded now. I'm actually kind of more interested to see what they can do with him.
You mean after he took the time to get out of Deepholm and mourn the loss of the Doomhammer that he gave to you, a better shaman, and he sat there bleeding to death and somehow does not die. Oh my god. Oh god. Think about that for a second. That is a Jesus allegory left and right. There is literally no way that is not, because you go into a cave with him after he's been stabbed in the side. Oh, oh no, he is the savior. No. Oh,
Uh,
oh no. I'm
but
sorry. No.
no, like one of the reason I never was that big of a Thrall fan was he he really did feel like in a lot of ways a Mary Sue to me, or a Gary Stu, I guess I should say. And it always I mean I know there's a lot of those in World of Warcraft because it's World of Warcraft, but he always felt like one of the biggest offenders to me.
Not as bad as Ronan.
Oh, well, I also didn't like Ronan, but well, I don't. I've never really liked both of them. Or I
Well, okay.
mean,
Wait, well,
I
I
could
like Ronan
tolerate
in
them.
game. I like
I could.
Ronan in game.
Yeah, Ronan in game wasn't as bad. I know in the books he is just legendarily awful, but
Oh god. No, in absolutely no offense to Richard Nack here, but dude, please, 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 no, never do that again. Um, I don't want to say this, but I kind of have to. I'm kind of glad that Blizzard went with Christy Golden as their official writer, because she's great. For one, she's great. Um, Before the Storm is a fantastic book. I read it, like, I started reading it the day I got it, and I was done the next day. No, I'm sorry. I read it in one sitting, like one go. It's great. It's a good book. Richard Nack's books take a while to get through. They're like Tolkien. You know, he'll take a couple paragraphs to describe something that's simple. It's fine if you do that. It's wonderful. But no, with Ronan, I was like, oh man, no, just no, stop, because he gets worked into the um the War of the Ancients, and he's literally telling the Moon Guard what to do. The Moon Guard, you know, I guess those of you who don't know, the Moon Guard is not just a realm famous for Goldshire. It actually used to be all of the High Elven. Okay, High Elves are the Night Elves now, as well as the Blood Elves. The Blood Elves are descendants of the High Elves that were kicked out. That were kicked out of Israel. Excuse me, of Kalimdor. Okay, now you know. Anyway, um, so all the it's like all the Magi, and I guess you could call them warlocks too. Well, like whatever they had that were sorcerers were all part of the Moon Guard. You know, they were powerful spellcasters, and the leader of them was appointed by Lord Ravencrest, and that was Illidan Stormrage, because he was the most powerful Magi that the elves had. Well, Ronan shows up in the books, and he's like, "Guess what? I'm more powerful than you are, bitch." And he's literally telling the Moon Guard what to do. And so all of the spellcasting abilities that Illidan kind of has, he basically gets from Ronan. And I am so happy. I am so happy that in the not no Warlords, the Legion quest line, where you relive Illidan's memories and you see him killing members of the Moon Guards to absorb their power, which is literally in the book. He actually does that. He does kill the other Magi to absorb their energy. That you don't have Ronan telling him what to do and funneling their power to him, because that, like, it's God, it's so awful. It is
wait,
awful. Like, that is one of the least favorite things I've ever read. It
wait.
makes Illidan less of a badass.
So Ronan is more powerful than Illidan in
Yeah,
book lore, which means he's more powerful than the Titans. Then
yeah. Ronan. Okay. Jaina Proudmoore is currently the most powerful magi in existence. Like you can argue that she was when okay, I'm trying to think of everybody's names. Khadgar is more powerful than um Medivh, even though Medivh was supposed to have been the most powerful to ever live. Okay, but that's questionable because you have Khadgar. Um, but you also have Antonidas. Antonidas was the most powerful magi, Dalaran. He directly trained Jaina Proudmoore. He also, oh, no, yeah, he also trained Khadgar partially. Khadgar goes and gets rest of his training from Medivh. So you're supposed to have Khadgar, who is kind of the most powerful mage in existence, but Jaina Proudmoore surpasses them all. Okay, and Ronan is supposed to have been more powerful than all of them combined because he's literally more powerful than a bronze fucking dragon. He's that powerful. Okay, and don't forget we have a blue dragon that now sits on the Council of Six. He's more powerful than a blue dragon. Right.
He so Ronan is just God,
Yeah. Ronan is
and
God. He's
Fra-
that level of a Mary Sue type character.
and Frawl is Jesus.
Yes, because now we've gone into the cave where he was stabbed in his side. And one day he'll return, and he's gonna do it in Nagrand. And God, just think about it for a second. Nagrand is the holiest site to all orcs. Okay, we've been in a cave. He's down there for I don't know how long he's down there after he's been stabbed, trying to save you from a non-boss mob. Like it's something that you kill it on your own. Okay, this demon that's attacking him is so weak that you kill it on your own. It's embarrassing, and it knocks the Doomhammer out of Thrall's hand and stabs him. And then he's like, "Oh, we gotta go to Deepholm and find it," and it winds up in the only cave in Deepholm. Somehow, it's in the only cave. I don't know how that happened. Because it falls straight down. It should have landed. It should have landed somewhere around the temple, but no, over there in the cave where all the gyre worms are is where it is. So you have to go down there with Thrall. They're in a cave. He's been stabbed. He's bleeding while wearing a robe. Whatever. He's Jesus. I hate that. I hate it even more now that I have had that realization. But it also makes me hate Ronan even more because I had to remember shit from that book.
You're welcome.
Damn it. Damn it. And see, here's the thing. I wanted okay, the title of the show is a phrase for today is a phrase we use in our guild all the time. It's called team language. I wanted to do a show today where I didn't say a cuss word. I can't do it. I can't do it because I'm thinking about Thrall, I'm thinking about Ronan, and I hate myself for it.
See, I'm not sure if the reason you can't do it is because I'm here to antagonize you, or just because you can't do it. I really can't decide.
There's literally no way that I could do it in general. Discussing okay,
But
okay.
it's so much fun to drive you towards it, though.
But see, here's the thing. Okay, for those of you who are not in our guild and know nothing about it, we have like a little guild rule. It's called team language. We try to be a friendly and open guild, welcome everybody, and not everybody um likes the uses of profanity. Not everybody wears headsets. We kind of wish they would. Not gonna name names. Just be aware. We can tell you don't have a headset on. It's fine. Some people have kids. So we try not to say things or talk about things that their kids might hear or that might upset everybody. And sure, y'all have noticed. I'm not exactly quiet when it comes to using, profane language. I use it quite happily, mostly because I stammer, and I don't know if I've ever done it on the show, but it actually helps me not do it. And I know, a lot of people are like, well, you're just you're just not very intelligent if you do that. I'm like, do you want me to talk in $40 words? Because I will do that. I will start doing that. Like I will start using words that you will never understand. You know, that's a hypothetical situation there. But anyway, um, yeah, like that's our little rule. You know, we try to keep everybody happy, and that was going to be today's show because I was going to challenge myself just for once. You know, try and not do it, and Nick has to go and ruin it for me.
You're welcome.
But in fairness, I guess it's what I get for ruining your topic for the day.
You totally ruined the show. Um, it well, there is one thing I wanted to talk about though, but since it's getting late in the show.
No,
So
it's forbidden.
I what I was going to say is World of Warcraft finally
What's
actually
your
has
profanity?
it actually has a legitimate rival in the
WoW
MMO landscape.
Classic. WoW Classic. It sure does.
Nope. It's Final Fantasy 14, which I know you haven't played. It's similar to WoW, but it actually is really different at the same time. It's a much more story driven game. And since I've been playing
Nick, we've been
oh, oh,
talking for like 40 minutes now about the story of World of Warcraft, and you're going to tell me that World of
well
Warcraft
wait,
is
hold
not
on.
story driven?
Well, not in the way Final Fantasy 14 is. It's a different style of storytelling.
And this is the
Um,
moment. This is the moment where we switch to anime, and I go, "Nande yoka."
well, the thing
Yes,
is,
I know like 3 words in Japanese, and "nani" is one of them.
well, the thing is that for a lot of World of Warcraft, you had the perspective of basically a soldier that was just going through the events of the world. It's only been really recently that we've taken on more of a sort of leadership position in the events, like where we feel like we're on the level of the leaders almost. Um, in Final Fantasy, from the very beginning, you've basically been the chosen one, the hero. Um, you are on the leaders look to you the entire time. It's not where you're just living through the events of the world. And I I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but I do wonder if Final Fantasy affected WoW storytelling to make it more focused on the character player. Um, but the reason I bring up Final Fantasy is actually because the 8.2 patch is supposedly was it dropping late June, early July, right?
Well, okay. There was an estimation of the 77-day thing because Mother says it, and now nobody knows because that was over 2 weeks ago, and now it's like, well, when's it going to be?
Um, so the reason I bring that up is because Final Fantasy is releasing their new expansion, I believe, on is it July 2nd, I think? Um I think it's either July 2nd or June 25th. I think it's July 2nd. Um and we're going to have what is one of the most look forward to patches in WoW coming at almost exactly the same time, or maybe even exactly the same time. They might release the same day as Final Fantasy releasing their new expansion. And this, I don't know if WoW is strategically trying to do this to compete with Final Fantasy, or if it's a coincidence, or I highly doubt it's a coincidence. But it's going to be really interesting to see what the players are going to do, because a lot of players in the wake of 8.1 switched to Final Fantasy and have been playing it and enjoying it. So really quite curious to see what's going to happen.
Stuff and things and stuff were going to happen, I'm sure.
I mean, I'm going to try to play both as much as I can because I want to see what happens with both. I've actually been playing a lot of Final Fantasy lately because I fell behind in the story there because we've been so busy with raiding and life and things, so I haven't had time to really get into it like I would have liked to. But yeah, it's still it's a fun game. It's a really fun game. So I'm it I'm and I know that the creators of WoW and Final Fantasy have actually worked together on because Final Fantasy was awful. It was terrible in its original form. And they went to the World of Warcraft team and asked them, "Hey, can you help us figure out what we did wrong?" And so I'm wondering if Activision now feels threatened and they're trying to challenge Square Enix, or I don't know. It's a really interesting situation.
So are you suggesting that WoW Classic, rather than an attempt to appease everyone who has not shut the hell up about wanting a classic server all these years, even though Blizzard's like, well, no, we can't do that. No, 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 it's too hard. Are you now suggesting that this might be a new way for Blizzard to charge them, because yes, you have to pay for it, to get them to want to play their game versus some other game?
Yes, I legitimately think that WoW feel Blizzard and or Activision for the first time that I can remember in the history of the WoW game, except maybe the very beginning, feels threatened by a competitor. Because
Nah.
we've all heard the stories of this is gonna be the WoW killer, this is gonna be the WoW killer, this is gonna be the WoW killer. And I have always laughed that off because it was ridiculous to really legitimately think that. But I'm not saying Final Fantasy is the WoW killer, but for the first time, WoW has a legitimate competitor.
See, I thought WoW's legitimate words are hard. I thought WoW's legitimate competitor was supposed to be Classic, because that's what Tallius and Inevitals. WoW Classic, and I'm okay with that.
I don't think that WoW Classic will. I really don't think WoW Classic will have a lot of dedicated players to it. I know there will be
Nani?
I know there will be a sizable amount, but I don't think. I think from what I've heard in general from people that have played WoW Classic is, wow, there's some really cool things here, but I really miss some of the changes that they have made to WoW. Um, I did not realize how much improved the WoW experience is now compared to then.
I think a lot of people are going to realize that very quickly. I mean, sure, it's great. It's a nostalgia boost to do it, but just like Tallius and Inevitable said, going back and playing through it, you realize um, you now understand how to play the game. You know, like you
And I
know
think
what you're
I
doing,
I
and
think
there's no big mystery like when it comes to getting through a starter zone, because you've done it. You know,
and I think that was a really big difference for the WoW the original WoW Classic experience was we didn't have these really great guides like Wowhead where we could just if we couldn't figure some or the add-ons that would show us where to go or so many things back then. Um and that was fun in a way because it let you explore the world, learn things on your own, work together with other people to figure stuff out. But we know so much more now that experience of learning and challenge is kind of gone. Um, the way raids were designed back then are fairly simple. There's not a lot of challenge there. Um, I mean, getting 40 people to work together to do anything is challenging, but honestly, the mechanics are fairly simple
They are.
compared to today's raids.
They're simple, and at the same time, they're not. And you know this because a few years ago, during one of the WoW anniversaries, they brought back Molten Core as a 40-man LFR,
Oh,
and
sure.
it was so difficult because nobody, like you really depended on people who knew what they were doing,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I
and
mean,
that
also
that that
it's
that was
LFR.
yeah, but you had to. It took what, like 3 hours to get through it, I think, when we did it. But
Yeah,
you
but I
literally had to have people that had been around for a while show up and say, "Hey, no, you need to do this. We have to do this at this and this and this and this and this."
but at the
And
same time, I didn't think it was that difficult when I was doing it. Because I remember running with other people, and it wasn't really that difficult. I mean, it was time consuming because it's a very long raid. And at at level, it's going to take you a lot longer than it would when you're just
of
super
course,
overpowered. So sure, we wiped sometimes on some things, but I never really felt super challenged by it. Um, so if you're genuinely asking me what I think's gonna happen with WoW Classic, if it's gonna hurt the current WoW version, I don't think it will. Like I really I think a couple people will play it for maybe a month or two, and they'll just go back to regular WoW.
I don't necessarily think it'll be a WoW killer. Um, but I do think what it will do is there's a decent possibility that players who haven't played for a while are interested in coming back for WoW. In fact, I know people who are. They're interested in coming back for WoW Classic. Maybe they'll become re-interested in what's going on in the game. Like the modern content. They might actually re-up their subscription for that, and that'd be
I
wonderful.
could see that. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
So I don't know. But you may be right. Final Fantasy may actually challenge WoW so much that there's fewer and fewer and fewer people. I don't know. I really don't.
Because if it was a patch versus patch situation, I would say WoW would, you know, win generally, easily. But this is an expansion versus a patch. But for WoW, it's a particularly important patch because a lot of people have not been satisfied with BFA so far, and a lot of people are looking to 8.2 to kind of rescue the expansion. So it really creates this interesting dynamic that I can't remember really ever happening before.
Because it hasn't happened before.
Yeah. So, and I know a lot of like I said, I haven't played Final Fantasy's current expansion as much as I did the last one. Part of that is because our raid team got reinvigorated on WoW, so that's been keeping me busy, and life in general. I haven't really had time to do to involved MMOs that much. But I know a lot of people have really enjoyed this expansion on Final Fantasy and are looking forward to the next one. So there is a good hype for it. Um, I don't know how successful the expansion will be. I mean, of course, it could be terrible or something. But yeah, it's a really interesting situation.
I guess what we'll have to do is wait until it comes out and then go from there.
I mean, I think it's gonna take 2 or 3 weeks afterwards to really see the impact on things. But I think if I remember right, Final Fantasy was approaching a couple million subscribers. I'm trying to remember. Like it was enough of a number where I was like, wow, that sounds like WoW's old numbers.
I don't know.
Let me see if I can find it really fast before we end the show.
Well, okay. Well, I was gonna, if you want to, we can just do that Friday,
Uh, I mean,
and then we can get into Spider-Verse because that gives me a week to watch it and whatnot.
I would hope that you finally watch Spider-Verse, please.
Never.
It's a good movie.
Sure, it is. But I'm gonna ruin this because I've been ruining other things.
Oh wait,
I'm
wait. I think I found it. I think 14 has surpassed 16 million players. I don't know if this is individual players or what or active subscribers, but it has surpassed 16 million players,
cool.
which if I remember right,
Which
I think
definitely are old WoW numbers.
yeah. And well I don't think this is active subscriptions, but I'm not sure. Um, yeah, this number applies to the lifespan of the game. But I remember, I believe the peak was in Wrath of the Lich King, which was what 10, 11 million active
For
subscribers.
WoW, no, that was around 15,
It was
15
15
or
million.
uh, somewhere between 12 and 17. I remember that.
Yeah, so we have to clarify this is not active subscribers for Final Fantasy, but it does show there's a lot of people playing this, and it is by far the closest number I've ever seen to a WoW subscription count. So
I I I still kind of wonder whether the new Final Fantasy will have the staying power of World of Warcraft. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because WoW definitely has that.
well, they have gone through 2 expansions now, so there is and maintained or grew their numbers. So there's definitely some staying power there. Well, technically 3 expansions, but no one really played the first, so they basically rebooted the game with their second version of it. Um, So it's been 2 expansions and I believe like 4 years now of game like solid gameplay or solid game playing people playing it. Um, so that's why I wanted to bring it up since we were talking about WoW and the new patch.
Okay. Well, Friday. Okay, I promise by Friday I will have watched Into the Spider Verse, and we can talk about it then.
Yeah, because I really think that's gonna be a key movie going into Phase 4 to see the direction that the MCU is gonna take with that.
It might be. I don't know. But yeah. I guess it's gonna be it for today. So if you're watching this at home, again, sorry that we cut out. My internet has been being terrible lately. It's been cutting out about once an hour every hour. I've tried resetting the router. I thought maybe it was a computer. I think I'm gonna have to call my ISP and yell at them for whatever reason. It's doing it.
Use angry words.
I probably will. But yeah. Remember to like us on. Well, subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter. Uh, follow us on Twitch. Go to our Patreon. Give us your money, and we will talk to you Friday.
Goodbye, everyone. Have a great week.
Bye, everybody.